How's it going, guys? So, someone was asking me how to set up everything and model an object. So this is actually going to be a really simple and short tutorial. This person actually has 6 images that they have sent me. Basically, they sent a front and back view, both the side views, and a top and bottom view. For the initial modeling, we're only going to be using the front, the side, and the top. The reason for this is because you don't really need to add all those extras. So the first thing you want to do is go up here to View, Image Plane, Import Image. I'm going to go to my desktop and you get to see all of my lovely little files. I have my files saved here in a folder called mtut. So this is the back view. I actually want to get the positive Z. I'm going to open that. And then for the side, I'm going to come up here to View, Image Plane, Import Image. You would do that, wouldn't you? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag this over here. So this way I can just double click on this. And this is the X view. So I'm going to want positive X. Open. I'm going to come up here to View, Image Plane, Import Image. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say positive Y. I'm going to hit Open. So now we have all of our imported images right here. Is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to move this one way up. Now, do not move the top on any of these axes. Same thing with this one. You don't want to move it on these axes. So we have, let's see. That one's yellow. So this is actually going to be the Y handle. This is going to be the X handle. So the only one I can move this on is the Z. This one, the only one I can move it on is the X. Now, once you've done that, you could import other images. I'm not. I'm just going to use the stock 3 images that I'm starting with. You know what? Let's go ahead and use all 6. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm going to give myself a slight challenge. So I'm going to import that one. Let's see. That was... Wait. Which one was that? Okay, yeah, that's the correct one. So I'm going to move that there. And then for this one, View, Import Image, this is going to be negative X. Where are you at? There you are. Open. Move that back there. And I know the back plates are on this side and that one's on this side. Very simply, just scale it. -1. Oh, wait, no, we can't scale it. I forgot about that. Yeah, I could actually scale this if this was the other one. But it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. See, I don't think I can... Yeah, I could do it this way. So that... Oh, that's why, because I scaled on the wrong one. Duh. Needed X, not Z. Jim, you idiot. Oh, well. Okay, so View, Image Plane, Import Image. We're going to do the Z. No, it's not Z. It's -Y. That's what I want. -Y. So... Let's see here. And that one's actually on the right one. Okay, so I'm just going to move that down right there. Now, I've moved these way out of the way, and this will just make the modeling process a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and this is actually a distributor coil, so I'm just going to call this Coil. Save. Alright, enough playing around. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually create a cylinder. Now, if you just clicked on the grid, that's fine. But you may run into something where you have a bunch of faces on this. Now, this will look really good if you can model all these, but that is such a pain. Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move the height and the caps. The caps actually want as 1. And I want the subdivision heights as 1. Finally, for the axes, I'm going to set this at 10. So we actually have a really blocky object, and there is a reason for this. And I'll explain it as I'm going. So the first thing I want to do is, or actually the next thing I want to do, not the first thing because I've already been doing this for a minute now, I'm going to click on Channel Box and Layer Editor. And what I want to do from here is I'm going to click on this image, and I'm actually going to click on this icon right here. If you don't have this selected, it won't do anything. But if you have the object selected and click on that, it'll actually make it where you can view the layers and whatnot. Naming convention does matter, so let's go ahead and just double click on that, and right here we'll type in X pause, hit enter, save. You don't want to use any spaces with this. If you use spaces, it will give you an error, and they're not fun. If you want a space, use an underscore. Just like that. So it's up to you how you choose your naming convention. This is just the way I do it. We'll click on that one. Z neg. There we go. And finally, oh, that's Y pause. There we go. Save. Oh, Y neg. Why would y'all let me do that? How dare y'all? Okay. Next thing I'd like to do is I actually like to come in here and change all these to R's. The T means it's basically just a template. You know, so it's a wireframe template that you cannot select. R means it's a reference, and the reason why I want to change these so this way I don't accidentally click on them. Like right now I'm actually clicking, but nothing's happening. So now I can go ahead and hide all the negative images and work just with the positive images. Make the workflow a lot easier. So now is what I want to do. I'm going to be working in the Z view first. I'm going to come in here, vertex. I'm just going to move these up to about here. I'm going to grab these and move these down to about here. From there, I'm going to go into face. And I'm doing that by holding down my right mouse button. And then I just hover over one of these and then release. So I'm actually going to select all of these. Now I don't know what this key is on Windows, but on Mac I don't know what the key is, but on Windows, to remove faces, hold down Control. And that will remove faces. In fact, you can actually see a little negative button up, or the little negative above the square. If you hold down Shift, that will actually select the opposite of what you're selecting. And finally, Control and Shift will only add. So if I were to do this, I can just keep adding these, and it won't change anything because it's only selecting the faces that I want. In this case, I want to remove the faces. And up here, this is called Extrude. Depending on what version of Maya, you may have this, you may not. If you don't, that is fine. Simply go up to, I believe it's Mesh Tools. No, it's Edit Mesh. And you're going to scroll down till you see Extrude. Now the way you can add this is by holding Control Shift, I believe, and coming down and then releasing the mouse over Extrude. As you can see, it's already added that icon by me doing that. I don't need this here because I already have one here, so I'm just going to click on that. I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. I'm going to press R on the keyboard. I'm not going to grab this right here. I don't want to do that. I actually want to grab the middle one and pull this out just a little bit. I'm going to click on Extrude again. And I'm going to pull up like so. Then I'm going to scale it out. Another option to extrude, if you just hold down Shift and move up, that will also extrude the faces. So there is that option. And you don't have to be in the transform tool to do that. So now I'm going to extrude one more time, just a little bit. Let's see, I'm thinking right about there should be good. Okay. And now I'm going to tap the... Oh, wait. Actually, I want to do one more thing. Let me go ahead and select these. I'm going to hold down Control and get rid of those. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit, not too much. And then I'm going to pull those in like so. So now this is the shape that we are working with. Pretty standard. Sorry if you can hear my dogs. So now what I want to do is I actually want to pull this down like so. Something kind of like that, I'm thinking. And I'm going to... Yeah, I think that should be good. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could actually extend this out like so, so it kind of like curves inwards. Oi. So from there is what we're going to do is we're actually going to create another poly cylinder. So I'm going to click on this icon up here. I'm going to come down here into this view, and I'm going to click right about here on that line. Once again, if you're in your channel layer, you can just come down here to subdivision axis and do that. And then for the height, I'm going to set that as 1. The rest of this should be fine. You don't have to set your height. That doesn't really matter. I'm only doing it because why not? The next thing we need to do is we need to click on this. Let me go into object mode. So we need to select this, and we're going to select all 3 of these. Hold down Control and press C. Then we'll come back up to this. We will select all 3 of these. Hold down Control and press V. Okay, it did not do what I wanted to do, but that is fine. So 02, that's fine. X.002. Translate Y. That can be at 0 for now. That doesn't matter. I'm just going to move this down to here. The next thing I want to do is I actually want to bring this down right about there. Then I want to scale this in. So now we need to come into the top view. I'm actually going to move this down into here. So it's kind of like sitting in here. And I want to scale out just a little bit. I'm actually looking at this curve right here. If you can't see it, you always click on this icon up here. And now go into wireframe. So I'm just going to move this right about here where it overlaps. And the reason why I want that overlap is because I'm actually going to move this underneath, and then I'll come in here to face. And now I'm going to select all of these faces. Just like so. So I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to pull this in right about there. I'm going to move it up. I'm going to... and the way I'm doing that, if you're wondering, I'm pressing R for my scale tool, E for rotate, W for transform, and then Q will go into your selection tool. So that's how I'm doing that. So I'm going to pull these in. I'm going to pull these up just a little bit higher. I'm going to pull these in. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit higher. So now that we're right about there, I can come in here and really start working on it. That's not the view I wanted. This is. I'm going to pull these up. So now because I can't see the top, I'm actually just going to hold down Shift. I'll pull it up first, and then you see I'm actually going to move that right about here, I'm thinking. And don't worry if it doesn't match directly. We'll end up fixing this later on. So I'm going to pull those in right about there, I'm thinking. Go ahead and extrude up right about there. Move that to about there. Oops. And now I want to move that right about here. I think right about there should be good. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm just going to bring this all the way up. Now, if you see that this doesn't quite look right, right-click on the mouse, go up to Edge, and double-click on one of these lines. Then from there, you can just scale. So that's all I'm doing is just scaling this so it looks more uniform. You actually want to make sure you have a nice flow to whatever you're making. This will just make it look more natural. So from there, I'm going to go back to face. I'm going to select that top one. I'm going to deselect that. Come on. And I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to scale in. I'm going to press W. I'm going to hold down Shift and extrude down. So that's our coil, or the start of our coil. The way I switch viewports, I'm sorry if I did not say anything or you don't know how to. I'm just tapping the spacebar once. Then I'm moving over to the scene I want to work in, and I've tapped the spacebar again. That's how I do it. So the next thing we need to do is if we press 3 on the keyboard with the object selected, it'll go into what's called smooth divisions, or smooth preview specifically. So I'm actually wanting to do that on both of these objects. So this actually looks decent. I'm not the most proud of it, but it looks decent. So what I want to do is now we're going to work with what's called Edge Loop. So Edge Loop, you'll come up here to Edit Mesh. I believe it's under Edit Mesh. I'm not seeing it. Okay, so it's got to be under Mesh Tools. And under Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. So I already have it up here on mine, but this is the tool you're going to want, is Insert Edge Loop. So is what this will do, you see how you have these block shapes right here? Your block shapes is where the edge will go, and then it'll modify the shape accordingly. So I want one edge right about here. I actually want that to have kind of a sharp angle to it. And then I'll come in here. I actually need to press 1 on the keyboard, and the reason why, because I want one up here, I'm going to want another one down here. And then whenever I press 3, you can see that looks a lot better. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is whenever you do this, the closer you are to another edge like this, the sharper the angle is going to look. So I'm actually going to insert one edge up here, and I'm going to insert one down here. I'm going to press 3 on that. And that is, I'm going to object mode. That is the starting of our distributor. So you can see it has a nice little recess that it sits into, and it's actually not looking half bad. So I'm going to come up here because, oh, come on. Did I not click on the tool? There we go. Press 1 because I don't think I'm hitting it. So I'm going to want this to be right about here, I'm thinking. I'm going to do the same thing in here. And then lastly, I'm going to put one right there. Press 3 on that. There we go, that looks good. So now I'm going to come back to this shape. Now this should have a pretty smooth bottom. So I'm actually going to put one edge right here, and that will create the smoothness on the bottom. Alright, so now that we've done that, the next thing we need to do is create... Normally I would say let's just create a plane, but I don't know if you're doing animation for VFX or anything like that, so we're actually going to create a cube. These right here are your contactors. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place a cube right here. I'm going to scale it down. Don't make it negative, just scale it down where it's about right. And then we'll just move that over. Go into the top. There we go. So we can't see our cube, and the way to fix this, we're going to go down, we're going to go over here to Y positive. We're going to turn off the R. Let's select this. I'm just going to move this down, and then, oops, wrong one. We'll put that back as a reference. So now you're probably thinking, but Jimmy, I can't see it. I understand that. This is where we actually grab these two items, and we'll just turn off the visibility, or you can make them as a transparent reference. Now, this doesn't line up quite right, and that's okay. It doesn't have to line up exact. But if you want to make sure it does line up a little bit better, we'll turn off the Y pause. We'll just move this right about here. Let's go ahead and set that back as our reference. So we'll also move this into place. I'm thinking right about there. So the first thing I want to do, I actually want to scale these in right about here. Okie dokie. And the reason why I want to do this is because I actually want to make sure that I can fold these up. So the next thing I want to do, this actually curves a little bit. So let's go ahead and just grab the face. I'm going to hold down, and by the way, I clicked and dragged from the middle and out. So that will select this face, the bottom face, and this front face way over here. After that, I'm going to hold down Control, and now I just have this front face selected. So I'm actually going to move this here. I'm going to scale it in. Let me go into my side view. I'm going to drag this up just a little bit. And then on the front is what I need to do is rotate around like so. And now I'm just going to scale up like this. Go and just flatten this out. I'm going to pull it back like so. One other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these verts, and I'm just going to move them in about like that. I'm also going to do the same thing with this, so this way it actually looks like it's making contact. So now I'm going to select both of these faces. That's why I clicked and dragged like this, because it selects this front face, but then it also selects the face on the opposite side. And the way I did that trick that you just saw, how I instantly went to it, I just pressed F on the keyboard. So I'm going to move this out. I actually need to scale that out just a little bit. I'm going to bring it up. And then I'm going to press R on the keyboard. I'm going to extrude out again. I don't know why mine is doing that. It shouldn't be. So if you run into this issue where it's doing that to you, it's okay. Just remember, Maya hates everyone. So I'm going to bring that up. Oops. Man, I've been working with Unity so long, a lot of the keys are just like, wait a minute. So I'm going to go to Edge. I'm going to pull this forward just a little bit. I'm going to click on these edges. I'm going to do the same thing. About like that. There we go. Beautiful. So the last thing we need to do is we need to create our screw. And this is going to be just a simple cylinder, like so. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to make it super small. I'm going to move it in here. Let me press F on the keyboard to frame in on that. Make about that size. That should be fine. So now I'm going to move that here. Let me go ahead and duplicate this real quick. And I'm going to move that over here. And this will make sense why I'm doing this here in just a minute. So we have this shape right here. Let's go ahead and open up this. I'm going to change this to 6. And then I'm actually going to let me scale this up, scale this down. I'm going to pull that down right about there. I'm going to pull this in right about here. So now it's a question of, but how do we Control C. There we go, that looks better. So now you're probably wondering, but how do we know how much to, let me think, what's this word? I totally forgot what I was saying. Crap. Oh, yes. So how do we make this where it's more bolt-like? Normally an artist would come in and they would texture this to make it look like a screw. You don't want to add a whole lot of resolution. To make this more bolt-like, we're going to come up to Edit Mesh, and we're just going to bevel it. Bevel. We're just going to bring the fraction just down. I'm going to say 0.05. There we go. Beautiful. And there we go. So now the last thing to do, I'm actually going to select all 3 of these. I'm going to press G on the keyboard. No, Control G. There we go. And that's going to create a group. So I'm going to click on this over here in the outliner. If you don't have the outliner, come up to Windows. Going to go down to Outliner. So let's go ahead and duplicate this group. And we're going to call this Terminal L. I don't know if it's left or right, but you know what? Who cares? Terminal R. There we go. So now I can just grab one of these. I can scale it -1. And there we go. So lastly, from there, we need this clip, this bracket. You could do a cylinder, you could do a cube, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Me, on the other hand, I really don't know what I want to do or how I want to do it, so I'm just going to start doing it. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to create a poly pipe. You will not see that selection up here. That may be in 2016, don't quote me on that, but it says what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to Create, Poly Primitives, and move down to Pipe. But boop. I'm just going to click on the grid. Is what I want is I actually want the transform components of this, which is 227.2, 0.227. There we go. And lastly is what I want to do is I just want to scale it out about like that. And finally, for the poly shape, for the thickness, 0.1. Yeah, that should be fine. So I'm just going to scale it in like so. On these 2 objects, I'm actually going to press 1. Now, the reason why I'm leaving this at a real high value, same reason why I left the bolts, because I'm not going to be smoothing those. I won't even be smoothing the screws. I won't smooth the terminals. I will smooth this part and this part, but that's going to be it. So I'm going to click on Face, and I actually need to go into the side view here real quick. if I could see it. So let me go ahead and come down here to X positive. Press W on the keyboard. I'm going to move that over here. So let's come back into that's the front view, Jimmy. Let's go into the side view. There we go. Let's click on face, and I'm actually just going to delete these. So I literally just hit the delete button on my keyboard. So now we're left with this. So we're going to right click, go to edge, double click on this edge that has a hole in it. And then you're going to, if you have this on here, it's going to be this item right here, which is fill hole. If you don't have that item, that is okay. Come up to edit mesh. Is it edit mesh? I'm pretty sure it's edit mesh. It is not edit mesh. It is mesh tools. No, it's not. It's just under regular mesh, which is fill hole. So then I'm going to come over here. A shortcut key is whenever you've selected this, press G on the keyboard, and that will redo your last action. So lastly, we'll come in here to face. Press R on the keyboard, extrude that out, like so. Yeah, we go ahead and just flatten these out. There we go. And so now is what we need to do, is we need to come into the front view. Now you might be thinking, I can't see it. Well, this is where X-ray comes into place. You could always just go into wireframe like this, but I don't really like this view. I like this view. So to go into X-ray, you're going to come up to shading, and come down here and click on X-ray. The other option you have is one of these up here. This one right here, this little button. This little guy. So now I'm going to press W on the keyboard. I'm going to drag this down. I'm going to go into vertice, move this in, move that in, and finally I'm going to go to edge loop, move that in, and I'm going to add one here, about like that. So I'm already at the 30-minute mark. I'm going to save this video, and we'll pick up on part 2.